First things first, our introductions, because a lot of you are new faces, but welcome to Camp Dragonfly training. I'm Caitlin. I'm one of the the only volunteer coordinator at camp. Hebron for Soterra people, obviously. I don't go there. But we're going to start on this side of the room. Say what your name is, if you know what you're doing at camp this year, what you're doing at camp, and how long you've been doing camp.
Okay. I'm Jed Rhodes. I have been doing camp, well, this is my second time doing it. I'm doing Camp Hebron, and I forgot what you said already. Oh, I'm a support person. Hi, I'm Mike Fox. I am a big buddy, and I'm at Camp Hebron for the first time in a long time. And I've been here. This is my senior year. This is my 12th year.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I'm Corey Messinger. This is my fifth year, I think, doing Camp Hebron, and I'm a big buddy.
I'm Matt Roos. This is my third year at Camp Hebron, and I'm a big buddy.
I am Katie. This is my 6th year, I believe, at Camp Hebron, and I'm camp nurse this year. Yay!
I'm Dan. This is my 5th year, and I'm a cabin flu.
Oh, you are. It's not even funny. That's not even funny.
Yeah.
I'm Susan, I'm from bereavement. This is my 5th year, and I'm with the Littles.
My name is Kara. This is my first year, and I'm a school staff. I'm Barbara. I'm a coordinator. This is my 7th year. And I'm in the team. I'm Carrie. I'm support staff this year, and this is my 11th year.
I'm Robert. I think I'm support staff. This will be my 20th year.
Camp Buick at Camp Soterra. I am also support. I help with being the lead and the nurse and a little bit of everything, and this is my 18th year.
I'm Debbie. I'm at Camp Hebron. I really don't remember how many years. Sorry, gang. So it's less than yourself. So it's less than 11 and more than 5. And this year I'm support staff.
My name is Brianna Blackburn. I will be at Camp Hebron this year as a big buddy, and this is my rookie year.
And I'm Lee, and this is my 4th year. I'll be at Camp Hebron, and I'll be a big buddy.
I'm Warren. I'll be at Camp Hebron as a big buddy and be maintenance.
I'm Meredith. I'll be at Camp Hebron. I'm a big buddy of this whole staff.
I'm Floyd. It's my first year, and I'm going to be a big buddy. Always a smart aleck, you know?
I'm Fran, first year, big buddy, and I'm going to Camp Hebron also.
My name's Marilyn. I'm at Camp Hebron. I've done Big Buddy before for five or 6 years, and this year I'm going to support staff.
I'm the bead lady. That's all you need to know. And I don't want to tell you how many years I've been here because then you'll know that I'm really old.
Was it 26?
No, 24.
24, okay.
One year short.
Oh, okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Sorry about
No,
my
I'm
voice in
done.
advance.
I'm done.
I'm Maddie. This is my first year. I'll be at both camps and the Big Buddy.
I'm Robin. I'm Camp Hebron, and this will be my 5th year, and this year I'm going to be support staff.
I'm Lisa, Camp Hebron. I don't know, I think support staff. And I'm with Deb. I think we start, we're the same year. So I think it's 8. Let's guess. I know that I worked at Hospice of Central Pennsylvania for 8 years, and I did Camp Dragonfly 1 year before I started working there. So it's either 8 or 9. Long time. That's my case.
I'm Patrick. I'm at Camp Hebron and I'm a big buddy.
Yeah. It's also my flesh and blood, right here.
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
So would I. He can be my buddy. I'm Stacy, I'm gonna be Camp Hebron, and this is my second year.
Big button.
I'm a big buddy.
I'm Tammy, and I am going to be Katie's backup nurse.
I'm Susan, the rest of me, I'm the camp director, I guess, for lack of a better word. It sounds more impressive than it is. And I've been, since we took over hospice in Central Brigade in 2012, that was our first year doing Camp Dragonfly. So this is our 9th year, which is hard to believe. So, welcome. It's nice to see you all. Nice to see some new faces and the old faces. And it's nice to see some people doing different things too. Taking a break and doing something different. That's kind of nice too. Okay. So we're going to just start out with, just because we do have some new people, we have to start somewhere. So we just want to talk about just kind of an overview of camp and some of the rules. We'll get those out of the way first. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll do a piece on children's grief. And we have some little videos and discussion and that type of thing. So we'll try to make this as interactive as we can, and we'll try to be out of here by 8:30, okay? That's our goal. I really like this space. Can you hear me? Okay. So the overall, I get this question a lot. So tell me about Camp Dragonfly. What's the goal? Why do you do this? So clearly all the kiddos that come to camp come because they've lost somebody, someone they care about. Family member usually, sometimes it's a friend or a significant person in their life. Hello there, how are you? Kevin. Welcome, Kevin Heller. Yeah, have a seat. You're welcome to get something to eat, Kevin, while we're talking, feel free. Yeah, go right ahead. So the goal of Camp Dragonfly is to really give kids an opportunity to explore their grief. When Camp Dragonfly started, over 20, I think this is our 26th year, started with Pinnacle Home Health and Hospice, and at that time there was really nothing for kids. So we used to refer kids to them all the time because it was such a great experience. Fortunately, fast forward 25 years, there are a lot more services in the community for kids now. There are other camps, there's the Caring Place over in Lemoyne who offers free ongoing programs for kids. So that's a really good thing. We're always really glad to see the increase in resources. But camp continues to be a really good experience for the kids that come. One of the things that kids, and if any of you have lost somebody when you were a child, kids tend to think that they're the only ones that are going through something. They feel very different. They feel like no one could possibly know how I feel. And one of the things that camp does is bring these kids together with other kids their own age to, first of all, see that they're not odd, that these things unfortunately happen to other kids as well. Giving them an opportunity to talk about their loss, if they choose, helping them to do that, helping them to learn some healthy ways to cope with their grief, and look at how life has changed, and now moving forward, what can I do? Who are the people I can count on? What are some of the things I can do to address my grief and stay healthy in my grief? So they're the things that we are trying to accomplish in camp. So you will see, those of you who've done this before, we have 3 therapeutic groups, and this is the same at both camps. We do a group on feelings, on change, how has life changed now that this loss has occurred, and recovery, how do I move forward? But in between, there's a lot of fun things that we do at both of our camps, whether it's Hebron or Soterra, we build in a lot of fun. So we play games, we go to the pool, we fish, we go boating, we have a campfire, we sing silly songs and do funny things. I know Soterra, they do the fire sticks and some of that type of thing. We sing songs, we're goofy, we laugh, we cry. So it's a combination, and some of that is also to show kids that even though you're hurting like crazy, it's still okay to have fun. once in a while. And smiling doesn't mean that you don't love your mom. It means that a lot of emotions can exist at the same time. So it's a lot of teaching. And you as big buddies are probably their biggest teacher. So we feel really strongly about the big buddy part of camp where we match you with a little buddy that you spend the weekend with. And whether you feel like it or not, you do make a difference to these kids. And it's a wonderful opportunity for them to be with a role model, to be with someone who's comfortable with their, to listen to them, to be with them. That really is a gift. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But your role really is, if you are a big buddy, is to really be with your camper the whole weekend. That's why we do the background checks. We have a lot of parents, I know they're a pain in the neck, parents ask us about those background checks every year. Since Jerry Sandusky, obviously, that's been an issue. And so that's why we do the screening we do the interviews that we do, because we want to make sure that you're up to the challenge, and so that we can match you with the best, in the best way that we can. Caitlin and I spent some time today, we've gone through, I know Swatera matches are all done because their camp is next weekend. They have 18 kids coming to Swatera. We have, at Hebron, we have 28. So we've done half the matches today, and we're gonna do the other half tomorrow, and we're mailing out the profile sheets tomorrow. So if you're a big buddy, you will get your profile sheet by mid next week. But getting to know you has been really helpful, and Caitlin is on it. She knows you all. I mean, I was really impressed. Oh, well, Corey, he's da-da-da-da-da, he'd be a perfect match for the, like, I was like, okay, she really knows her volunteers, which is really good. It's a scary thought, yes, no, but she does a really nice job. So far, like I said, we have 28 kids at Hebron. That's why we asked if some of you would be floats, and I think that will be good, because that will be an extra person in some of the cabins, so that if people need a break, if you are having, if you have a child who's having a meltdown, whatever the situation might be, that there's another set of hands. If you need to take your kiddo to the bathroom, you have another person who can go with you. Because obviously you can't be alone with the child out in the bathroom or in the woods or whatever. What was I gonna say? So you will get your profile page. With that, we do have some kids always who have some other challenges. They might have mental health issues. They may have some particular struggles around the death of their parent or loved one. There might be special instructions that we put in the profile page. If you do get a child that we need to have a little bit further discussion, you will have you'll always have a letter with your profile. It will tell you if you have a child that we want to talk to you more about. And we're going to ask you to call one of our bereavement counselors. It will either be Susan, Dodd, Barbara, Ian Cohn, who else? Emily Fenner, or Nedra, Lar. And we will give you their cell numbers, and we're going to ask you to call them by the end of next week. Because as you read the profile page, you'll see that you have a child that has some concerns, and we want to make sure you're prepared to deal with that child. We did not take any child that we think can't handle camp. We go out and visit every camper and their guardian ahead of time. We meet them, talk to them about camp. The people you will be talking to are the ones that have met the child and talked to their guardian, and in some cases have talked to their therapist or whoever it is, their additional support people. So they'll be able to give you some good background and also some suggestions on how we're going to want you to interact with this child, or any special instructions, and also your questions as you hear what's going on. Does that make sense? So it'll be really clear in your envelope that who you need to call and their cell phone. So they all have their work cell phone there. It'll just be easier probably to get in touch. Also in that letter will be a reminder that if you are a big buddy, we ask that you call your little buddy by Wednesday before camp, just to introduce yourself. And we put in there, remember, put in *67 before their number so that they don't have access to your cell phone number. We do that to protect you, and you don't want people calling you and connecting with you in ways that you're not comfortable with either. So that's the best way to do it. If you have to leave a message because they see, you know, what is it called? You know, blocked or something on, you know, message. If you leave a message, just tell them who you are and when you generally plan to call. Call back tonight between 7 and 9 or whatever, so that the next time they'll hopefully pick up. Do your best to do that. If you can't connect with them, they don't call you back, or not call you back, but you can't for some reason, at least they've heard your voice, they know who you are, so that when they come to camp, it won't be the first time they've heard who you are, okay? That does seem to make a difference. All the kids coming to camp want to come to camp. We had one little guy who said no, but then he said yes. We're not sure why, if grandma changed his mind or what, but he seemed sincere when Barbara went back to meeting the second time. So I talked to a gentleman tonight before I came in. His 14-year-old daughter wants to come, so we're gonna make arrangements for her to come. And I was asking him, does she want to come? And he said this was her idea. Her therapist mentioned it to her, and she thought it'd be a great idea because she is really alone and has never talked to anybody her age about grief. So she, according to him, really wants to come. So I do think that was probably one of the best things we ever did in camp is go out to see the kids. Because a lot of their anxiety is certainly allayed when they meet somebody and hear about and see pictures and that type of thing. So we do our best with that. Anything else you want to say about financial? If you have any, and if you don't get a letter saying you need to talk to somebody, but you think you need to talk to somebody, please feel free to call Caitlin on it. So if you read your profile and you have a question, we try to be thorough without telling me, it's a one-page thing, so we didn't want to go crazy. But if you have questions, feel free to call us. Don't hesitate to do that. I know many of you have come to this year after year, and we appreciate that. The reason we drag you through this every year is just to kind of get the cobwebs out. You know, you haven't done it in a while, or you haven't done it in a year. We do this every day, and it's still good for me to kind of go through these things again. One of the things Caitlin is gonna, any questions? One thing I would like to say, I'm really kind of glad that some of you are doing a different job this year. I do think there's something to be said every once in a while to kind of change it up. You know, if you've been a big buddy to be a support staff, or if you're, you know, so inclined to go to be a big buddy from being a support staff. It is tiring, right? Those of you who've done this. It's a wonderful experience, but it can be very exhausting, and you have to give a lot of yourself for the whole weekend. So as much as it's rejuvenating, it really can be tiring, and some of you have been doing this for years and years and years. So we're just glad that we'd rather you change your job than not come back. So we're glad for that, and we'll always find a place for our volunteers. There's always a lot to do. Our schedule at Hebron is, I don't think Swatera's schedule has changed either, pretty much the same. We're going to pretty much do everything like we did last year. We will be doing the horsemanship program again. The kids really seemed to enjoy that last year, and we will do that again on Saturday morning. So we're pretty much following kind of the same thing that we did last year, which we're happy about doing. The biggest downfall of the drawback or the problem with the horseback riding last year was that we had a hard time identifying some of these kids when they were on a horse with the helmet on. It's kind of like the thing, you know, an athlete, you always see them with their football helmet on, and then when you see it without, you're really not sure, is that them? So a few of us were like, who is that? And we're looking at shoes and trying to match sneakers from other pictures. So we're trying to come up with a way this year to identify the kids on the horses without taking away from the natural picture of being on the horse, so that we can identify. There's one or two kids we didn't send pictures to that we weren't 100% sure, and I didn't want to insult anybody by sending them the wrong picture. So I think we corrected them. What?
Race number something like that.
Yeah, something.
Get a picture with the kid on the horse before they get on, so then you can look at the horse.
Yeah, something. Yeah, we're gonna do a couple things, but I think the kids really liked that last year. So we're gonna do that. For those of you who are new, basically, how we do this is, on Friday night, when the kids get there about 6 o'clock, we do have the service dogs coming. The kids really enjoy that. And they can kind of mingle with the dogs, which is a nice icebreaker. And we really spend Friday night just doing some activities within our age groups. So you're with your little buddy, and then you're with all the littles, which are gonna be 6 to 8-year-olds, correct? 6 to 9. And then 10 to 12 will be the middle group. And then 13 to 15 will be the teens. So you'll spend Friday night getting to know your little buddy and then being within your age group. Hopefully just to get people comfortable, have a little fun. We're gonna do a scavenger hunt again and some other things just to kind of help everybody just to get to know each other. On Saturday, we kind of do the bulk of the heavy kind of work. We'll have 2 sessions. We'll do the horseback riding in the morning. We'll have 2 therapeutic sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. In between, there's free time. So if your little buddy wants to fish, boat, swim, unfortunately, you have to do, or fortunately, you have to do what your little buddy wants to do. And then the kids change their minds, you know, like if they're in a group and everybody's going to the pool, even though they might have liked to fish, they might change their mind. So we kind of play that by ear. But there's a nice block of time for free time, which I think is really good. We do play bingo for some silly prizes. You will, as big buddies, get a break from everybody. You'll have an hour or 15 minutes or something like that, that you can go to your car and look at your phones. Check your emails and your texts and all that other kind of stuff. One of the biggest rules at camp is you really cannot have your phone. You really have to leave it in your car. So invest in an alarm clock, a watch. I know that's archaic, but really, because we tell the kids, you can't have phones. They come and last year one kid almost went home because we were like, sorry, you can't have your phone, even though we told him. He was still really upset that he couldn't have his phone and his camera and whatever else. So please, you need to set the example. So if you're faking it and hiding your phone somewhere, which well, the kid is gonna know. So you're really gonna ruin it for the child because you're setting a horrible example, really, frankly. So no phones. You will have free time to catch up on your phone. And we will send you the phone numbers. Caitlin and I will have our cell phones. You can share those numbers with your family, so, or significant others or whoever. So if something happens and they need you, they can certainly call us. Or if something's happening in your life and you really need to call, please talk to us. And if there's something, you know, happening in your family that you need to be in touch, I understand. But in general, you really don't need to have a phone. Same with the kids. They won't have phones either. So that's really important. And really the focus here is on the kids. I realize sometimes we get to camp and it's old home week and some of you've been here and you like to see each other. We will have time on Friday when you arrive around 4 to get you in your cabins and you have some time to get reacquainted with each other and chat. You'll have your downtime on Saturday that you can be together. So there's times when you can do that, but when you're with the kids, you're with the kids. They really have to be our focus. You cannot leave your little buddy at any time. If you need to use the bathroom or you need to do something, then you need to get someone to spell you. You need to, that's where we'll use some of our floats and our support staff to, you know, come and be with your little buddy while you take care of whatever it is you need to take care of. Does that make sense? It's really important that you be with them. We're responsible for these kids. If you leave and go off, and then your child goes off, I mean, that is not gonna be good. We've not lost a kid yet, so. We don't wanna start. Huh?
Not on your watch.
Not on my watch. We want you to have fun. Huh? No, really, we don't want that to happen. And nobody does, and that's never the intent. But what I would say is sometimes the kids are crying. They're exhausted. They're frustrated. They're tapping into things and feelings that we didn't know we had, maybe, or we don't like this little kid, and I'm not sure about this. You need to talk to us. We we really have an advantage this year because we've got a lot of support people. And there's nothing wrong with taking a break. And, and so if we have a cabin float in a lot of the cabins, they're gonna be with you through all your activities and programs, and the kids are gonna know that person just like they're gonna know you, or at least they're gonna know who you are, so that we can take turns. The last thing I wanna hear, and this is the only thing that really upsets me, is on Sunday when someone says, oh my God, you're not gonna believe what happened on Friday at 7 o'clock. And no one says anything. And so it's been brewing and brewing all weekend, and now people are frustrated, and we could have nipped it in the bud, on Friday, for whatever reason. None of us expect this to be a perfect weekend, so if you have an issue, no one's gonna be upset about that. We want this to be a good weekend for you as well. We're not gonna know what the issues are unless you tell us. But last year we had a few situations where kids we just can't, the focus has to be the kids. The other thing is that sometimes our expectations of what our little buddies are gonna be don't always match what they end up being, right? So some year, I've often said, and this is nothing against our first time big buddies, but sometimes I think maybe if they have a mediocre experience, then the next time that's wonderful, they'll be like, wow. Versus when you have that wow the first time, then nothing ever seems to kind of match that. Does that make sense? You have to watch, and we'll talk a little bit more about this. Our expectations, we all have it, don't get me wrong, but try not to let it ruin your weekend if you don't feel like this kid is responding to you the way you think they should, that you're not bonding instantaneously like you think you should. These kids have been through a lot. The loss, and most of them, that is just a piece of their issues. They've got all kinds of challenges going on in their life. So, you gotta give them, bless you, give them a little latitude. They're in a strange situation with strange people. Some of them are gonna be more open than others. I think the most important thing you can do is just know that your presence is invaluable. It may not feel like much, and you may not think you're giving that much, but just being there is really important. And you never know. I'm going to use your experience from last year with John. And we had this young man who I didn't know if he would stay, right?
Oh, I didn't think he was staying.
He came, he was
He was
mad.
this close to know.
Yep, he was mad, he couldn't have his phone, he couldn't have his camera. You told me I could. Of course, Heather Lane is no longer with our agency. She's out doing private practice, which is what she wanted to do. So she's out working in nursing facilities as a licensed social worker, and she's actually very happy doing it. So she sends her best. She is going to do our parent program on Sunday morning, so I'm really grateful for that. But anyway, so, Miss Heather, you told me. No, I didn't. So we were there trying to work with him, and he was out on the deck, and we had Heather, and we had Caitlin, then we brought out Kevin to talk with him, because Kevin knew him, and I was there, and all this, I'm thinking to myself, this is enough. So here we had all these people, so finally I said to him, you're going home, clearly this isn't working. And his mother came, and fortunately, he kind of was like, well, I'll stay. And he stayed, and I think we weren't sure, but you, bless your heart, you were so persistent and so present, and you didn't give up on him. And even the little things that he might have done through the weekend, you were just so thrilled about.
Yeah, because he didn't participate, he was in later sessions and would all get,
Yeah. But little glimmers here and there, which I think were really good. And I really admire your persistence of just saying, hey, I'm just gonna go with this. I'm just gonna be present with him, and whatever it is, and it went really well. And an interesting follow-up, because he wasn't happy with me at all. About 4 months ago, I was at Planet Fitness on my treadmill doing my exercise. It's killing me, I don't like doing it. And all of a sudden I see this kid, and I'm like, he's out of context. And he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and it was John. And I thought, I'm just, okay. And he came over to me and said, Miss Susan? And I said, Johnny, how are you? He got right up on the treadmill next to me and walked, and was telling me how good he was, and then his mother was over there, and she's waving to me, he goes, I really, nice to see you. I was so shocked, because you just never know what an experience can mean to one of the kids that may not look like he's getting anything out of it. But just the fact that we hung in there with him, and we didn't judge him, and he participated, and you were really, really good with him. I don't know, Barbara, do you want to add anything, or Alan?
She was fantastic.
Yeah.
She was just,
Yeah, and that was that isn't typically what happens, so not to scare you. But that's a good example of where it would be very easy to be like, oh, really? And just kind of trudge through the weekend with this kid. So please come just kind of prepared for him. And know that no matter how well the child does, how open they are going to get something out of it. We get wonderful, wonderful evaluations. The kids do an evaluation, the parents do an evaluation, and they're really specific. Big Buddies, never anything under the best smile over here, that we do a smile. But I don't think I've ever seen a complaint about a Big Buddy. I'll hear things like, I love too long hair. He was so nice, but really good feedback all the time. If we got a concern, I would let you know. I would certainly tell you if we heard anything. Really positive. So I think what we do, that's why we kind of just keep doing what we do, because it's not broken and it works. And the kids feel very well supported. I was at a conference in the past year, and was talking to somebody from Maryland who did a camp. And they don't do Big Buddies. They just have like kids in groups, and they might have a couple people kind of, watching, observing, whatever, supervising. And she was like, that's a really great idea. They never thought about it. So the child's getting the group experience, but also the individual experience. Our CEO, when he was in Florida, they did kids camps, and he went a couple times, and he said it was just like herding people. Like, they didn't do the Big Buddy thing. They didn't match kids up like this. So I do think it's something that has worked over the years and is really positive. A lot of it, you are the backbone of this program. You really are. Every one of you. If we didn't have Big Buddies, we wouldn't have camp. So your role is really important. So I really encourage you to get a good night's sleep, to just kind of breathe, take a couple good breaths as you're driving up that hill on Friday, and just try to center yourself and be present. And talk to us. You're going to have leaders, like the young kids will have Susan and Ann will be your facilitators for the weekend. The middle group have Emily Fenner, who's new. She's worked for us as a social worker in hospice, but she's new to bereavement. She's lovely. And then our teens are Barbara and Alan, the teen group, and they will have support staff with them. So there will be plenty of people around if you are feeling overwhelmed, your child's doing something, there's an issue in your cabin. Even, we're gonna buy everybody earplugs. Kids and all of you will get earplugs in case there's snorers in your cabin. We had an issue last year with that. We also will have some extra cabins, so if you don't have a good night's sleep, or you have a special need, or something like that, we'll be able to work that out. So if you're in a cabin with kids, and for some reason you don't sleep at all, then the next night you're gonna use some sleep and let the float stay. I mean, we're gonna try to work those things out. You have to talk to us. You have to let us know. If I see, or Caitlin sees, you don't look like you, or something doesn't look right, we might come up to you and tap on your shoulder and say, what's going on? So I tend to kind of, I don't like to do that, but I think I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna just assume anything. I just wanna make sure that your experience is positive as well, and that if you have issues, I can't stress that enough, but we have to stay with the kids. The last thing we wanna do is leave them. So Saturday's a fun-filled day. And then in the evening, we do a remembrance service. We do the campfire, which is an awful lot of fun. And we will have support staff. For those of you that are support staff, you'll get your schedule with your jobs, and you'll know very clearly what it is you're doing and when you're doing it. So we're going to be working on those next. And we will have some staff in charge of the campfire. and all the fun that goes on at the campfire. And then we also have a remembrance service where the kids are invited to light a candle for their loved one and say something if they would like. You can say something if you'd like. If you've had a loss, if you've had, something that's happened in the last, year that you would like to share. So that's very moving, but part of this. So we focus on talking about the losses, ways of coping, expressing our loss, ways of remembering the people who died and how important that is, and how do we do that through our activities, through remembrance service, all those kinds of things. And then on Sunday, we'll have another session, and we'll do a balloon launch. Everybody will have their own balloon. And I did get biodegradable balloons, because I've gotten a million complaints about the birds, which I understand. And they'll be out of strings, so we will cut the strings so the balloons can go in the air without strings that will wrap around. Well, I agree with that completely. It's just a challenge. It's hard to find these things sometimes, but we did work that out. Parents will be participating in the parent group on Sunday morning, which is a very big, at both camps. We do parent sessions where parents or guardians, whoever that may be, grandparents a lot of times, to talk about what the kids did on the weekend, how they can continue some of the things that we've been working on, and also a lot of attention on their grief and how that grief impacts the kids. And that's usually when the light bulbs go on. Because if any of you are parents, you know that your biggest concern is your child, not you. And so we tend not to take care of our stuff because we're worried about our kids and how they're doing. But how we handle our stuff impacts our kids, right? They're watching us. They're watching us. Little boys are watching their dads, moms. How am I supposed to do this? What's appropriate, what's not appropriate? Do we talk about mom? Do we not talk about mom? A lot of those things are determined by the culture of the family, so we do talk about that as well. We send the kids home with a lot of information, and if we see or have experiences with the kids that we're concerned about, we talk to parents or guardians right there on Sunday and tell them, what we're concerned about. And we certainly offer ongoing bereavement support to the families if they need that or want that from us. So even though we don't keep in touch with these families per se, and you won't, we do provide ongoing services for families. Any questions? We have our nurses who control all the drugs. Yes?
Are you doing the drumming this year?
Yes, that's right, I forgot about the drumming, yep. The drummers will be there, they come to both camps. Yes, it's really kind of neat, getting those kids banging on things. On Sunday, we're gonna do yoga again. We're gonna have a music session, so we giving them opportunities. And also the animals. The parents were really interested last year about the horseback riding. And some of them are gonna look into taking their kids back up to Hebron, because they do some programs with kids. They work with a lot of kids with handicaps and intellectual disabilities, and they do a lot of really cool programs. So they're very sensitive to special needs of kids. And so the parents, some of them were really interested in that as well. So we give them a lot of information, but yes, thank you. Yes, the drummers will be there. And our bead lady hands out lovely beads for every activity. You wearing your bead there? Your birthday? Yeah.
This is the one from the 20th year.
Very nice. Judy spends a lot of time gathering beads throughout the year. And the kids start out going, beads, are you kidding me, beads? And by the end, they're like loving their beads and showing their parents. And it really is a nice token system that they participated. If someone's done something nice for them, they can do special beads. There's a lot of things that she does, which is cool. It's so nice to have that. And we do the same up at Sotero. So the two camps are pretty parallel. They're different in that the locations are a little bit different in what you can do and that type of thing, but pretty much the same. Okay, Caitlin.
Oh, good talk
So, just want to go over my part. reiterate again, no cell phones, so we have our cell phones on us. If you need to call, if someone needs to call again, we'll send out our numbers. That's not just for, again, like making the kids feel better about being there and present with them. That's also because it relates to social media too as well. And the fact that you can't have social media involved, but we'll go over that when we open up the blue folder. You must stay with your little buddy at all times. So that being said, you cannot like go off with your little buddy by yourself. Again, in the age post Jerry Sandusky, we try to prevent you from being in any situations that would even be questionable. Even if something's innocent, sometimes it can turn into something else just because of the way it appears. So since appearance is everything, that's another reason why we're excited that we have more support volunteers this year, because now rather than having to take like 2 pairs of kids out of something just to go to the bathroom, you can just pick a support volunteer off the side and say, hey, can you come with me with my kid to use the restroom? That goes for free time with the kids. You shouldn't be going alone to the lake with the kid. Make sure you at least take one other adult with you, or big buddy, whatever. Just to make sure that you're never in a situation without the kids. Cabins, anything like that, you should always be with someone else, or Susan or myself, someone. Medications, so we have 2 nurses. There's really no excuse to have any medications with you in your cabins. One, that protects the children. Some of you have kids that are like 6 years old, so there's really no reason for you to have that kind of stuff in your cabin. Again, preventative measures. Even something as simple as like aspirin or anything like that, the nurses will have it. You all should have filled out medication profiles for them that you've gone over, or at least what they're supposed to bring with them.
Volunteers?
Yeah, they have that
We
green
don't have
form.
any of those.
Well, not,
We can work on that.
they exist somewhere, and Katie will look at them. But when you check in,
Volunteers and then need to be with me.
yeah. So when you check in, when you come into camp, should the returning volunteers remember this, you'll check in and fill out everything. And if there's stuff that you have to take on the regular time, you'll just let the nurses know that, and they'll find you when that time is. So they always have walkie-talkies. That's kind of how we communicate at camp for the new people. At least one person in your cabin will have a walkie-talkie. So that way, like if something would happen and you need immediate medical attention, they always have them on. So either Casey or Tammy will be available. Any questions on meds? No? All right. All right, let's open up your blue folders and look in there. There are 2 major things that I want to go over here that are not new but important to go over. One is your job description that's in there, either support or volunteer, or support or big buddy. There's only 2. Really just has your expectations that Susan went over, that kind of thing. On here, we're gonna ask you to sign that and give that to me before you leave here today. I'll probably collect them after the break. But the other thing that I really want to touch on is the social media policy. Again, social media has become, increasingly popular. And regardless of if we're posting things from camp or anything like that on our hospice page, you really can't be doing that. 1, it's inappropriate, but 2, our camp isn't to cure the problem of grief. It's to introduce children to like how their new life is going to be now that they have had this loss. So you come in this one little sliver of time and you have this chance to make this big difference, some kind of difference in just a couple days. The idea isn't that you're going to be with them forever after that. So that's the whole reason why you don't give out your cell phone number, you don't give out your social media pages. If they find you, you don't accept them. You don't share pictures with them on your page, and you don't stay in contact with the parents or anything after that, because you're coming in at a vulnerable time. Sometimes that can turn into something more than it needs to be. We follow them on the bereavement side, so you don't have to worry about us like dropping them after camp, because that doesn't happen. But just again, preventative measures, you can't post children's names or post parents' names or things like that, even years after camp.
It used to be years ago with Pinnacle, I think it was almost encouraged that you kind of keep in touch if you wanted to with your big buddy, I guess by mail or phone or whatever. And it was a different time. And that, I think when we first had to make these changes, it was really tough for some of the volunteers because we were used to, why would I not keep in touch with them? But it just, something very innocent can turn into something very complicated for you as well. And frankly, after camp is over, if you would maintain some kind of relationships, you're really on your own. Like our liability insurance isn't gonna cover you 6 months from now if you call me and say, hey, his family is stalking me, I've been in touch with them and now I don't wanna be in touch with them anymore. So for your own good, you can always blame it on me. Sorry, I'd love to keep in touch with you, but that's the rest of the issue, so I'll let you do it. Yeah.
One thing that I kind of crossing, or if you stand by me, the same stand by me like a balloon launch or whatever, that doesn't, you can always stand by me, but I'm not gonna see you again. I find that quite good.
You're right, because you don't want to, I mean, this is a situation that's been going on and we're just kind of stepping in and stepping out and trying to be a support and teach and give the kids a piece of their journey. So we'll look at that. You're right. So if you don't have your phone on you, you won't be able to give anybody your phone number, say, I don't have my phone. And so you can say, tell parents if they have questions, they can call us. One of the things you will get from us when we do take pictures of, we have one kiddo who we can't take pictures of. Well, we can take a picture for them, but we can't put anything up on, advertising. So I'm gonna have to put a big star on them or something, so I know not to ever take a picture. But we will do the pictures with the big buddies and the cabins, and send those to the kids. And when we send you yours, we'll include a card, if you remember, that's addressed to the child, and you can just write them a little note, just like, it was good to meet you at camp, I wish you well, that type of thing, just as kind of like a follow-up type of thing. So we've done that, and those have been well received. We've gotten a few calls over the years from parents going, my child really, Mrs. Warren, he really likes to see, and it's like, I'm not sorry, we just, this is why. And again, some families, the way of their dynamic, that's hard for them to understand, and they want to pull us in. It doesn't happen very often, but it is something we have to be really mindful.
The other reason it's important too is that it's a privacy issue. It's really not your business to put their children on their Facebook or their information. Some of the circumstances of death are one that the kids don't even know yet. Some of them. So it's